I was inspired to make this video because I was having a conversation with someone the other day about ADHD. He was one of those people that argued that ADHD is a superpower. And while I understand that, at a certain level, subjectively, you could call it that, right? You could, put your mind you put your mind to that so that you can have a better chance of, still reaching your goals and still doing the things that you want to do with your life while having ADHD. But I feel like objectively, calling it a superpower is pretty stupid because it's not a superpower. I mean, of course it's not, but like it's a disability. It is a disability. It's just like you could have, you could miss an arm and, you're special in that way and you can still have a fulfilled life that way and you can achieve things that way. But it's not a superpower, you know what I mean? Like it would be disrespectful to call it that. And to me, it's also disrespectful to call ADHD a superpower, like in a general sense, because it doesn't make any sense. Tell me a reason why you would consider it a superpower, because everything that you may be a little bit better having ADHD as other people, it's just a side effect of all of the bad things that are happening to you constantly because you have ADHD. People that are diagnosed with ADHD have a way higher, for example, suicide rate. They have a way higher rate of depression, anxiety, and other comorbidities, right? Physical and mental. And I remember that even before my diagnosis, even before I knew anything about this topic at all, my entire life and growing up as a child, my biggest source of depression and anxiety as a freaking child was that I always knew that I was not cut out for this life. And I'm not saying like in an existential way, but like purely participating in society, I always knew that I was not fit to do that. I was already just overwhelmed with the responsibilities of being, a functioning society member as a child. And all of these expectations that pile up on you, you know what I mean? Like the rate at which you should develop, the rate at which you should learn, all your responsibilities that pile up, all of the things that you need to attend to, go to school. Like you're literally spending 5 days in a row being expected to sit still and focus for hours on end, put all of your personal needs and wants and goals and everything just aside and just focus on something that you're not even choosing to you know what I mean? Like you're being forced. I'm doing this, but you're being forced to focus on it, and you're being forced to learn the things that adults or the system, I'm not going to go into that in this video, that adults want you to learn. And even as a child, that pressure was immediately too much for me. And that was my biggest source of depression and anxiety even back then, right? Because you have all of these expectations from your parents that will then, punish you for you not fulfilling them. You will lose opportunities socially, with your education, and it's a big like spiral that just it's one missed opportunity after another. It's one mistake, things that you forget, things that you just can't cope with, and that all piles up from the moment that you are older than a toddler, right? And so this affects you every single day of your entire life, and there's no cure, and you can never get rid of it. You can only try and work with it, and you can only try to manage it. And that's another reason why it really sucks, right? It will never really go away. And so in that way, I'm still that little kid that's overwhelmed by the world, right? For example, I don't work full time, but it's not a choice, right? It's not really a choice. I've talked about it in other videos where I was like, now I'm at that point where I made peace with the fact that I will never work a normal full-time job. And in a way, I don't want to, because, I've kind of, woken up to the system and what all this is. But even if I technically wanted to, I still physically couldn't. That's the point. I still physically couldn't, because that's another limitation. If I want to start working a full-time job, what's going to happen is that by the middle of the week, of the work week, I'm just done and I cannot participate anymore. I will start losing the ability to socialize with people. I will become, majorly, all my symptoms will rise, right? I'll become more anxious, more, somber. I will lose the ability to just like express myself and speak to people. I will become more mute. I will start just like not disliking everyone, but it's just all too much. I just want to be left alone, And most importantly, I literally lose the ability to focus on the things that I'm supposed to be doing, right? It's not a choice in that way. And that's why I also struggled in school. And that's why I also struggled, all of my life doing the things that were expected of me, because I literally can't put forth the focus anymore. And it's not a matter of do I want to or not. I can't. It's not that you're easily distracted. It's that you can't choose what your brain puts its attention to. And no matter if I consciously understand that I need to do this, like this is literally my income depends on me doing this work, it doesn't matter. Your brain just does not cooperate with you anymore. And that's the problem with ADHD, and that's why it sucks so much, because it basically takes away opportunities from you, and it takes away so many parts of your functioning that you could be an intelligent person, you could be a person that has an amazing work ethic, you could be a person that has goals and aspirations, and I'm not trying to take that away from anyone. Part of me is like that as well. I feel like I'm a lot of different personalities in one body, not in a schizophrenic way but just like I can see things from so many perspectives and so many angles, and I can see myself being an ambitious person, but there's just restrictions that I will never overcome in that way. And so all I can do is try to find ways to, I guess, kind of make peace with the limitations that I have, and then mold my goals around those limitations, where it's like, what can I still do with my life? What can I still achieve with the limitations that are set in place, right? And the only thing you can really do is learn more about yourself and try to figure out how to deal with all of these symptoms. For example, ADHDers also struggle a ton with sleep, right? Getting to sleep regularly, being able to fall asleep, being able to stay asleep, all of these things. And so that's why I have rid myself of all of the guilt that I had a long time for always sleeping in. I will sleep as long as I want to, if I can. I slept, I think, like 13 hours today. I got up, it was 3 p.m. and all I did today was I got up, I had food, and I went out here to film this video so far. I hope. But these are just the things that it's almost like on the outside you can just, people may see someone who's just lazy. I feel like that's happening a ton with people that have ADHD, especially undiagnosed. People will just call them lazy. People will call them, unfocused or like clumsy and things like that. It's the perfect example of like, he would be such a smart and successful person if he just applied himself a bit more. And I think that's the perfect description. That's how it looks from the outside, but in reality, it's a constant battle to try to find ways around the fact that your brain is just extremely inconsistent and extremely volatile in what it can accomplish in a given day or week. And it has a ton of very specific kind of quirks that really just disrupt your day-to-day living and your day-to-day functioning. And to me, that's the best way I can describe ADHD. And it really makes me think about all of these times where I was pushing myself so hard. I was struggling so freaking hard with going down that path that I said that I would go down, and chasing that, conventional idea of success. And I was on the way to like climbing the career ladder, and I had a relationship, and I was, we were basically building our own home. And that was still the time where I thought that if I just applied myself hard enough and pushed hard enough, then I could break out and I could like finally overcome this mystery phantom thing that was always looming over me and always holding me back in my life. That's what I still thought back then. And then I pushed myself so hard to an absolute breaking point, and I lost everything. I lost my job. I remember I was so... it got to a point where literally I could not focus anymore. I could not work anymore. I was so unstable and so... I was a wreck. I was really a freaking wreck. And I lost everything because of it. I lost my job, I lost my relationship, I lost my house. I lost basically everything I've, built up to that point. And that was when I first started to realize that I will not overcome this. I will not beat this. There's nothing for me to overcome in that regard, where it's like, it's just because I'm lazy, or it's just because there's this one little thing that I haven't really figured out yet. Whatever it is, that diet change, that supplement, that workout routine, that, therapy style, and I'm not saying these things don't help, of course they do, but they help you deal with the ADHD, right? And if you don't know that this is what you're trying to deal with, if you still think that the symptoms you have are the things, right? You're not trying to deal with the ADHD, you're trying to deal with laziness, or you're trying to deal with you not taking things serious enough. If you think that's the primary cause, that's where you are gonna suffer exponentially. And I just, my heart truly goes out to all of the people that have had similar experiences, and it really is life altering. It's life destroying. It really just, it shapes you as a person. It shapes your entire life. And since we are still living in a time where there's not enough recognition and there's not enough support for us, I have to say that it sucks. It really does suck. And for most people, their lived experience having ADHD does really suck. So I just want to say my heart goes out to every one of you, and you're not alone. And I hope you could get some value out of this video. But I think that's all I wanted to say for today. Thank you for watching. And, of course, share your opinions and your experiences down below. And please, if you could also leave a like, I would greatly appreciate that. I will see you next week.